Maya Thompson was practically running through the airport, her sneakers squeaking against the polished floor as she weaved between travelers who seemed to be moving in slow motion. Her small suitcase bounced behind her, one wheel making that annoying clicking sound it had developed last month. She didn't have time to worry about it now. She glanced at her phone again. 35 minutes until boarding. Her stomach twisted into a knot. This wasn't just any flight. This was the flight that would get her to Atlanta in time to see her mother before surgery. The big surgery. The one they'd been dreading for months. Her sister had called 3 days ago, voice shaking, saying the doctors had moved up the date. Something about the test results. Maya had immediately requested time off from her job at the community center, maxed out her credit card for a last-minute ticket, and now here she was, racing against time itself. The airport was chaos as always. Friday afternoon meant business travelers everywhere, families heading out for weekend trips, college kids with oversized backpacks, the smell of coffee mixed with cleaning products and that weird airport smell she could never quite identify. Announcements echoed overhead in that robotic voice, calling passengers to gates, warning about unattended luggage, reminding everyone that this was a non-smoking facility. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from her younger sister, Lisa. "Mom's asking about you. What time does your flight land?" Maya's throat tightened. She typed back quickly while walking. "Landing at 6, tell her I'll be there tonight. Love you both." She added a heart emoji, though it felt inadequate for what she was feeling. She was passing the main check-in area, eyes fixed on the security checkpoint in the distance, when she noticed him. An older man, probably in his 70s, standing near a check-in kiosk with his luggage scattered around him. He had that lost look people get in airports sometimes, like a child separated from their parents in a grocery store. His white hair was neatly combed, but his face was flushed and his hands were shaking as he patted his jacket pockets over and over again. Maya slowed down, just for a second. She had that split-second conversation with herself that we all have. Keep walking. You don't have time. Someone else will help him. You have to catch this flight. Your mother needs you. But she couldn't. Something about the panic in his eyes, the way his shoulders were hunched, the vulnerability of it all. Her grandmother had gotten lost in an airport once, years ago. The family had been frantic until a kind stranger helped her find her gate. Maya had always remembered her grandmother saying, "That young lady was my angel that day." She stopped walking, took a breath, made a U-turn. "Excuse me, sir? Are you okay? Do you need some help?" The man looked up at her, and the relief that washed over his face was immediate. "Oh, thank goodness, I can't find my wallet. I had it just a minute ago, I'm certain of it. But now," he gestured helplessly at his pockets. His carry-on bag, the jacket draped over his suitcase. Up close, Maya could see he was well-dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt, with a navy cardigan that looked expensive. He had kind eyes, the sort that crinkled at the corners, but right now those eyes were filled with worry. His hands continued to shake slightly, and Maya wondered if it was just stress or something medical. "It's okay, we'll find it," Maya said, forcing her voice to sound calmer than she felt. She glanced at her phone. 32 minutes now. "When did you last remember having it?" "I checked my bag here," he said, pointing at the kiosk. "I had to show my ID to the agent. She gave it back to me, I'm sure she did. But then I walked over here to organize my things, and now—" He trailed off, looking around at the crowded terminal as if the wallet might materialize out of thin air. "Okay, let's retrace your steps," Maya said. She was already mentally calculating. 5 minutes to help him find it, maybe 10. She could still make it. Probably. "What's your name?" "Robert," he said. "Robert Mitchell. I'm sorry to be such a bother. I'm not usually like this. It's just, this is my first time flying alone since my wife passed. She always handled these things, and there it was. The gut punch." Maya felt her resolve solidify. This man had just lost his wife and was trying to navigate the world alone for the first time. How could she just walk away? "I'm Maya," she said, giving him a warm smile. "And you're not a bother at all. My dad gets flustered in airports too. Let's find that wallet." They started at the kiosk where he'd checked in. Maya asked the agent if anyone had turned in a wallet. The agent, a tired-looking woman with her hair in a tight bun, barely looked up from her computer. "No wallets turned in. You can check the lost and found down that way." She waved vaguely toward the far end of the terminal. Robert looked like he might cry. My daughter's phone number is in there. My credit card's everything. We'll find it, Maya assured him, though she was starting to feel her own panic rising. 28 minutes now. Let's walk back slowly and look on the ground. Maybe it fell out of your pocket. They began a careful search of the area, Maya scanning the floor while Robert checked and rechecked his bags. Other travelers flowed around them like water around rocks, everyone in their own hurried worlds. A woman bumped into Maya without apologizing, too busy yelling into her phone about a missed connection. A family of 4 argued loudly about whose fault it was that they were running late. Maya thought about her mother lying in a hospital bed, probably watching the clock too. She thought about how disappointed Lisa would be when she had to call and say she'd missed the flight. But she also thought about her mother's voice in her head, the one that had guided her whole life. Baby, you can't just walk past someone who needs help. That's not how I raised you. I think I might have stopped at that coffee shop, Robert said suddenly, pointing toward a small cafe about 50 feet away. I wanted to get some water before my flight. They headed toward the cafe, Maya's heart pounding not just from the physical exertion but from watching her departure time get closer and closer. The cafe had a small line of customers, and Maya's eyes swept the floor around the area. Nothing. She checked by the sugar station near the trash can under the small tables. Can I help you? A young barista asked, wiping down the counter. Did anyone turn in a wallet? Black leather? Maya asked hopefully. The barista shook his head. Not since I started my shift. But let me check with my manager. He disappeared into the back. Robert leaned against the counter, suddenly looking exhausted. I should just go home, he said quietly. This was a mistake. I thought I could do this, but no, Maya said firmly. We're going to find your wallet, and you're going to get on that plane and see your daughter. I bet she's excited to see you. She is, Robert said, a small smile appearing. I haven't seen my granddaughter in 6 months. She's 3 now, growing so fast. The barista returned with a manager, and Maya's heart leaped when she saw her holding something black. But it was a phone case, not a wallet. Another dead end, 22 minutes left. Let's try the bathroom, Maya suggested. Did you stop there after the kiosk? They walked to the nearby restroom, and while Robert went inside to check, Maya stood outside, bouncing on her feet, anxiety building. She pulled out her phone and checked the flight status. Still on time. Still boarding in 22 minutes. She could still make it if they found the wallet in the next 5 minutes. She could run. She was good at running. She'd sprint the whole way if she had to. Robert emerged from the bathroom, shaking his head. Maya's heart sank. Where else could it be? Then she remembered something. Wait, you said you organized your things after checking your bag. Did you maybe move your jacket or anything? Robert's eyes widened. I did. I moved my jacket from one arm to the other because it was getting heavy. They hurried back to the check-in area, and this time Maya got down on her hands and knees. Not caring about the dirty floor or the strange looks from passers-by, she looked under the kiosk behind a trash can, near the rope barriers. And there, wedged between a metal pole and a rubber floor mat near a coffee kiosk about 20 feet from where Robert had been standing, was a black leather wallet. Found it. Maya grabbed it and stood up triumphant. She handed it to Robert, whose whole face transformed with relief. Oh, thank you, he breathed, checking inside. Everything's here. My license, my credit cards, my daughter's photo. Thank you so much, Maya. You're a lifesaver. Maya checked her phone. 18 minutes. Her own flight was in Terminal C and she was still in Terminal A. Her stomach dropped, but she forced a smile. I'm glad we found it. But as she looked at Robert, she noticed he was still looking uncertain, holding his boarding pass and staring at it like it was written in another language. Gate B47, he read aloud. Is that far from here? Maya's mind raced. B47 was in the opposite direction from where she needed to go. If she just pointed him in the right direction, wished him luck, and ran, she could probably still make her flight. Probably. But Robert's hands were still shaking, and there was something fragile about him standing there, alone in this massive, confusing airport, trying to be brave after losing the person who had been his partner in navigating the world. Maya made a decision that would change everything. Come on, she said, gently taking his arm. Let me walk you to your gate. Robert looked at Maya with surprise and something like gratitude mixed with guilt. Oh no, dear. I couldn't ask you to do that. You must have your own flight to catch. I do, Maya admitted, glancing at her phone again. 16 minutes now. But B47 is on the way, sort of. It wasn't, not really. But the lie felt necessary. She couldn't leave him now. Something in her gut told her this man needed someone, and maybe she was meant to be that someone today. They started walking, Maya adjusting her pace to match Robert's slower steps. He moved carefully, like someone who'd had a fall before and was afraid of having another. His carry-on had 4 wheels and rolled smoothly beside him, but he kept one hand on it at all times, as if afraid it might escape. "I really appreciate this," Robert said as they walked. "My daughter wanted to fly out to get me, but I told her I could manage on my own. I didn't want to be a burden. She's so busy with the baby and her job." He paused, catching his breath. "But I'm starting to think I was being stubborn." Maya smiled despite her racing heart. "My dad's the same way. Never wants help with anything. Last year he tried to fix the roof himself. He's 72. "How did that turn out?" Robert asked, a small smile appearing. "He ended up in the emergency room with a sprained ankle. My mom didn't talk to him for a week." Robert chuckled, and the sound was warm, genuine. "That sounds like something my Helen would have done. She used to get so mad at me when I'd try to do things I was too old for. 'Robert,' she'd say, 'your pride is going to be the death of you.'" His smile faded a bit. "She passed 6 months ago. Heart attack. Completely unexpected." "I'm so sorry," Maya said. And she meant it. She'd seen that kind of grief before, working at the community center. The way it sat on people's shoulders, like an invisible weight, changing how they moved through the world. "She did everything," Robert continued, seeming to need to talk. "Booked our flights, packed our bags, made sure I had my medications, reminded me where I needed to be. I never realized how much she did until she wasn't there to do it anymore." He was quiet for a moment. "My daughter keeps saying I should move closer to her in Seattle. She's probably right. But our house, it's where we raised our family. All the memories are there." Maya understood. Her own grandmother had refused to leave her house after her husband died, even though it was too big for one person and the stairs were getting dangerous. "Home is home," she said simply. They passed through a busy section of the terminal where 2 gate areas converged, creating a bottleneck of humanity. People rushed past with roller bags, families struggled with strollers, businessmen barked into phones about delayed meetings. Maya kept a gentle hand on Robert's elbow, making sure no one bumped into him. "You're very kind," Robert said. "Not many people would stop to help these days. Everyone's always in such a hurry." "My mom always taught us to help when we can," Maya said, then immediately thought of her mother in the hospital and felt her chest tighten. 14 minutes now. They were only halfway to Robert's gate. Even if she left him right now, she'd have to run full speed to make it back to Terminal C in time. "What takes you to Seattle?" Maya asked, trying to focus on something other than the time. "My granddaughter's 3rd birthday is tomorrow," Robert said, his face brightening. "Lily. She's beautiful, looks just like my daughter did at that age. I haven't seen her since she turned 2. We were supposed to visit last Christmas, but Helen got sick and then—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Here was this man dealing with grief, pushing through his fear of flying alone, determined to show up for his granddaughter's birthday. And she was helping him instead of rushing to her own mother. Was that the right choice? She didn't know anymore. All she knew was that she couldn't abandon him now. "Lily's lucky to have you," Maya said. "I bet she's so excited. My daughter's been showing her pictures, trying to help her remember me. It's hard at that age. 6 months is a long time in a 3-year-old's life." Robert shifted his bag to his other hand. Helen would have been so excited. She loved birthdays. Always made such a fuss with decorations and homemade cakes. They turned down another corridor, the gates counting up, B38, B40, B42. They were getting closer, but it felt like they were moving through molasses. Every few steps, Robert would slow down, and Maya would slow with him, even though every fiber of her being wanted to run. "What about you?" Robert asked. "Where are you headed?" Maya hesitated. "Atlanta. My mom's having surgery tomorrow morning." Robert stopped walking. just stopped right there in the middle of the corridor, people flowing around them like they were rocks in a stream. Surgery? And you stopped to help me? Oh, my dear, you need to go. Right now, I can find my gate. It's fine, Maya said, but her voice cracked slightly. We're almost there. What kind of surgery? Robert asked gently. Maya swallowed hard. They found a mass on her pancreas. They're going to try to remove it. She hadn't said it out loud to anyone except family. Saying it made it real, made it scary. And you're going to miss your flight helping an old man find his wallet, Robert said, his voice heavy with understanding and regret. I'm not going to miss it, Maya said with more confidence than she felt. 12 minutes now. Your gate is right there, see? B47, and then I'll run. I'm fast. But even as she said it, she knew the math didn't work. Terminal C was at least a 10-minute walk at a normal pace. Running, maybe 6 or 7 minutes if she didn't hit crowds. Then she'd need time to get through boarding. It was going to be close. Very close. Probably too close. They reached Robert's gate, and Maya felt a wave of relief. At least she'd gotten him here safely. The gate area was already boarding, a line of passengers waiting to scan their tickets. Robert would be okay now. Thank you, Robert said, turning to face her. Thank you for your kindness, Maya. I hope your mother's surgery goes well. I'll say a prayer for her tonight. Thank you, Maya said, already backing away, preparing to run. Have a wonderful time at your granddaughter's birthday. Tell Lily happy birthday from me. But as she started to turn, she saw Robert fumble with his boarding pass, nearly drop it, then look at the gate agent with confusion. The agent was calling, zones, and Robert was squinting at his pass, holding it close to his face, then far away, clearly struggling to read it. Maya should have left. She should have run, but her feet wouldn't move. She walked back. Let me help you figure out your zone. Zone 3, she read for him. That's boarding now. Do you have everything? Your wallet? Your phone? Your carry-on? Robert patted his pockets again, that nervous gesture she'd noticed before. Yes, I think so. Are you sure you shouldn't go? I'm sure, Maya lied. 10 minutes now, the boarding time for her own flight. They were loading passengers right now, and she was in the wrong terminal. She helped Robert get in line, made sure he had his boarding pass ready, watched as he shuffled forward with the other Zone 3 passengers. He turned back once and waved, mouthing, "Thank you," one more time. Maya waved back, then finally let herself run. She sprinted through the terminal, her bag bouncing wildly behind her, her phone clutched in her hand. She dodged a maintenance cart, nearly collided with a family taking a selfie, jumped over someone's extended legs at a charging station. Her lungs burned, her legs pumped. Terminal C. She needed Terminal C, Gate C12. She followed the signs, her vision narrowing to just the arrows and gate numbers, B terminal to C terminal. She burst through the connector, startling a janitor. Sorry, she gasped, not slowing down. C1, C3, C5. The numbers climbed. Her heart pounded in her ears. She could hear her sister's voice in her head. Where are you, Maya? Mom's asking for you. She could see her mother's face, trying to be brave about the surgery, trying not to show fear. She'd promised she'd be there. She'd promised. C9, C11, and there, finally, C12. Maya skidded to a stop at the gate desk, gasping for air, sweat dripping down her back. The gate agent, a middle-aged man with glasses, looked up at her with an expression she'd seen too many times in her life. That mixture of pity and bureaucratic finality. I'm here, Maya panted, holding out her phone with her boarding pass. I'm here for the Atlanta flight. The agent looked at her, then at his computer, then back at her. I'm sorry, ma'am. The door's already closed. No, Maya said, shaking her head. No, please, I can see the plane. It's right there. She pointed at the window where her plane sat, connected to the jetway. Please, my mother's having surgery tomorrow. I have to be on that flight. I understand, and I'm truly sorry, but once the door is closed, we can't reopen it. It's FAA regulations. The flight is preparing to push back. But it's still here. Maya could hear the desperation in her own voice, hated the sound of it. Please, can't you just Can't you ask them to open it for one more passenger? Please, I'm begging you. The agent's expression softened, but his answer didn't change. I'm very sorry. Even if I wanted to, I don't have the authority to reopen that door. The cabin crew has already completed their safety checks. The best I can do is help you rebook on the next available flight. Maya stared at the plane through the window. So close. She could see people in the windows settling into their seats, probably checking their phones one last time before airplane mode. One of those seats was supposed to be hers. She was supposed to be. On that plane, flying to her mother, keeping her promise. When's the next flight? She asked, her voice barely a whisper now. The agent typed on his computer, his fingers clicking against the keys in a rhythm that felt like a countdown to disappointment. Let me check. I'm showing the next available flight to Atlanta is tomorrow morning at 6:45 a.m. Tomorrow morning? Maya felt like she'd been punched. Nothing tonight? Everything's fully booked. Friday night is one of our busiest travel times. I can put you on the standby list for the 9 p.m. flight, but I have to be honest, it doesn't look promising. There are already 12 people ahead of you. Maya watched through the window as her plane began to pull away from the gate, that slow backward motion that meant it was really, truly leaving without her. She felt tears stream down her face, didn't even try to stop them. The surgery was scheduled for 8 a.m. Even if she got on that 6:45 a.m. flight, she wouldn't land until after 9. She'd miss it. She'd miss being there when her mother went in, miss holding her hand, miss telling her everything would be okay. She'd failed. She'd chosen to help a stranger, and she'd failed her own mother. Maya slumped into a chair at the now empty gate, her bag falling to the side. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called her sister. Hey, Lisa answered, her voice bright with anticipation. Are you on the plane? About to take off? Maya couldn't speak for a moment. Her throat was too tight. Maya? Lisa's voice shifted from excitement to concern. What's wrong? Are you okay? I missed it, Maya managed to say, her voice breaking. I missed the flight. What? How? What happened? Maya explained everything through tears. The old man, the lost wallet, helping him to his gate. As she spoke, she could hear how it sounded. How she'd let a stranger make her late for her own mother's surgery. She waited for Lisa's anger, her disappointment, the accusation that Maya always put other people before her own family. But Lisa surprised her. After a long pause, she said softly, That sounds exactly like something Mom would have done. Maya let out a sob that was half laugh. It was true. Their mother had raised them to help others, to be kind even when it was inconvenient, to see people who needed assistance and not look away. She taught them that by example, stopping to help stranded motorists, bringing meals to sick neighbors, volunteering at the homeless shelter every Thanksgiving, and now Maya had followed that lesson right into missing her flight. When can you get another flight? Lisa asked. Not until tomorrow morning. I'll miss being there before the surgery. Mom will understand. You know she will. But I won't understand, Maya said, wiping her face with the back of her hand. I should be there, Lisa. I promised her. They talked for a few more minutes, Lisa trying to console her, Maya trying not to fall apart completely. When they hung up, Maya sat there staring at nothing, feeling hollowed out. The gate area was empty now except for a cleaner emptying trash bins. The bustle of boarding had moved on to the next flight, the next destination. Life kept moving forward even when yours felt like it had stopped. She thought about calling her boss to see if she could somehow leave earlier tomorrow, catch an even earlier flight. She thought about renting a car and driving through the night, 12 hours straight, but she was so tired emotionally and physically drained. The adrenaline that had carried her through the airport was gone, leaving only exhaustion. Maya pulled her bag close and rested her head on it, closing her eyes. Maybe she could just sleep here until morning. She'd done it before during a layover. It wasn't comfortable, but airport chairs were free, and she'd already maxed out her credit card on the ticket. Excuse me, Miss Thompson? Maya's eyes snapped open. A woman stood in front of her, professional-looking in a navy blue suit with her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She was holding a tablet and had an airport security badge hanging from her neck. Yes? Maya sat up, confused. How did this woman know her name? I'm Jennifer Martinez, the operations manager for this airport. Would you mind coming with me for a moment? Maya's confusion deepened into worry. Is something wrong? Did I do something? No, nothing like that, Jennifer said with a small smile. If you could just follow me, please. Someone would like to speak with you. Maya stood up slowly, grabbing her bag. Her mind raced through possibilities. Had something happened with her luggage? Was there a problem with her ticket? Had she somehow gotten flagged for running through the airport? She followed Jennifer through the terminal, back toward the main concourse, her stomach nodding with anxiety. They passed coffee shops and bookstores, groups of travelers, and finally turned down a corridor marked airport personnel only. Jennifer swiped her badge and held the door open. Maya hesitated. It's okay, Jennifer assured her. I promise you're not in any trouble. They walked down a quiet hallway, their footsteps echoing off the walls. Through a few more doors, past offices with nameplates, and finally Jennifer stopped at a door marked Executive Conference Room. She knocked once, then opened it. Maya stepped inside and froze. Sitting at a large conference table was Robert. But he wasn't alone. Around him were 4 other people, all in business attire, all looking at her with expressions she couldn't quite read. And Robert himself looked completely different. He sat up straight, his demeanor confident, his hands steady as they rested on the table. Gone was the confused, vulnerable old man from the terminal. Ms. Thompson, Robert said, standing up. Please come in. Sit down. Maya stood there, not moving, her brain trying to catch up with what she was seeing. I don't understand. Aren't you supposed to be on a plane to Seattle? I was never going to Seattle, Robert said gently. I'm sorry for the deception. Please sit. Let me explain. Maya sat, but every muscle in her body was tense. Was this some kind of scam? Had she been set up somehow? She gripped her bag in her lap like a shield. Robert remained standing, looking at her with an expression that was hard to read. Regret, maybe? Or something like respect? My name really is Robert Mitchell, and I really did lose my wife 6 months ago. That part was true, but I don't have a flight to catch today. What I do have is a company to run. This airline, actually. I founded it 32 years ago. Maya's mouth fell open. She looked around at the other people in the room who were nodding. One of them slid a business card across the table to her. It read Robert Mitchell, Chairman and CEO. Why? Was all Maya could manage. Robert sat back down, leaning forward on his elbows. After my wife died, I started noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. How people treat each other in airports, how passengers treat staff, how staff treat passengers. It's not always pretty. I started wondering what kind of company I'd really built. Was it just about moving people from point A to point B? Or was it supposed to be about something more? He paused, taking off his glasses and cleaning them on his shirt. A very human gesture that made him seem less like a CEO and more like the man she'd helped. So about once a month, I come to one of our hub airports and I test things. I pretend to need help. Sometimes I'm confused about my gate. Sometimes I can't find my ticket. Sometimes, like today, I lose my wallet. Most people walk right past me. Some get annoyed that I'm in their way. A few are kind enough to point me in the right direction before rushing off. He put his glasses back on and looked directly at Maya. But in 6 months of doing this, no one has ever done what you did today. You didn't just point me somewhere. You didn't just help me find my wallet and leave. You walked me to my gate even though it took you out of your way. You stayed with me even when you saw I was struggling. You made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth your time. Maya's head was spinning. But I missed my flight. Because of you. Because of this. This test? I know, Robert said, and now his expression was clearly regretful. And I'm truly deeply sorry for that. I had no idea you had a family emergency. My people only told me after you left me at the gate, when they were tracking you to see if you'd make your flight. If I had known about your mother's surgery, I never would have. You were tracking me? Maya felt anger rising now, cutting through the confusion. You were watching me this whole time? Jennifer spoke up from where she stood by the door. We have security cameras throughout the terminal. Once Mr. Mitchell identifies someone who helps him, we follow their movements to see what happens. We're very discreet. It's not to invade privacy. It's to understand the full picture of who helped and at what cost to themselves. And today's cost was my mother, Maya said, her voice sharp. She stood up, clutching her bag. I'm glad I passed your test, Mr. Mitchell. I'm sure this is all very fascinating for you. But I need to go figure out how to get to Atlanta before my mother goes into surgery. So if we're done here, please wait, Robert said, standing as well. You have every right to be angry. This isn't fair to you. But please, let me try to make this right. You can't make it right, Maya said, tears threatening again. I can't get back those hours I'll miss with my mother. I can't hold her hand before they take her into surgery. I can't, her voice broke. You can if you let me help, Robert said quietly. I have a private jet, part of the company fleet. It can be ready to fly to Atlanta in 30 minutes. You'll land by 9 p.m. You'll have all night with your mother before her surgery tomorrow. Maya stared at him. A private jet? Yes, with my sincere apologies for this entire situation. You shouldn't have to lose time with your mother, because you were kind enough to help someone who, frankly, didn't deserve your help. Everyone deserves help, Maya said automatically, something her mother had always told her. Robert smiled sadly. Your mother taught you well. Will you let me do this for you? Maya's mind was reeling. A private jet. She'd never even been near one, let alone flown on one. It seemed impossible, like something from a movie. I can't accept that. It's too much. It's not enough, Robert countered. It doesn't come close to thanking you properly for what you did today. And frankly, it's the least I can do to try to fix the problem I created. One of the other people in the room, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes, spoke up. I'm Patricia Chen, VP of Customer Relations. Miss Thompson, your mother's surgery is at 8 a.m. tomorrow, correct? Maya nodded, wondering how they knew that. The jet will get you there by 9 p.m. tonight. We'd also like to arrange for your mother to be flown home after she's recovered. Whenever the doctors clear her to travel, medical transport on one of our planes, no charge. And round-trip tickets for your family to visit while she's in the hospital. Maya felt like she was in some kind of bizarre dream. Why would you do all that? Because what you did today represents everything we want this airline to be, Patricia said. You put another person's needs before your own immediate priorities. You showed compassion without expecting anything in return. You're exactly the kind of person we need helping shape how this company treats its passengers. Robert nodded, which brings me to the other reason I asked you here. I'd like to offer you a job. Maya actually laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. A job. You want to offer me a job? Director of Customer Experience and Compassion Initiatives, Robert said. It's a new position we've been trying to fill for 3 months. We need someone who understands service not as a policy, but as a calling. Someone who sees people, really sees them, the way you saw me today. He pulled out a folder and slid it across the table to her. The salary is outlined here along with benefits. It's substantially more than what you're making at the community center. I hope that doesn't sound presumptuous, but we did some basic research after we saw what you did. Maya opened the folder with shaking hands. The number she saw made her breath catch. It was more than double her current salary, with benefits that included health insurance that would actually cover things, retirement matching, education assistance. This is real? She whispered. It's real, Robert confirmed. You'd be working directly with me and the executive team to develop programs that make flying more human. Training for staff on how to identify passengers who need extra help. Partnerships with organizations that assist elderly or disabled travelers. Protocols for handling family emergencies with compassion instead of just policy. You'd have the authority and budget to really make changes. Maya looked up at him, then at the others in the room. I work with underprivileged kids at a community center. I don't have experience in corporate anything. I don't even fly that often. But you have something more important than experience, Patricia said. You have genuine empathy. You can't teach that. And we have plenty of people who understand corporate structures. What we don't have is someone who stopped to help an old man find his wallet when she had every reason to keep walking. Maya looked back down at the folder, her mind racing. This kind of money could change her life. She could help her mother with medical bills. She could pay off her student loans. She could maybe someday even buy a house instead of renting forever. But more than that, she thought about all the times she'd felt frustrated at the community center, wanting to help more kids but lacking resources. All the families she'd seen struggling who she couldn't help enough. This job, this opportunity, it could give her a platform to actually make a difference on a bigger scale. I need to think about this, Maya said, closing the folder. This is all happening so fast. An hour ago I was just trying to catch a flight. Of course, Robert said. Take all the time you need. But first let's get you to Atlanta. You have somewhere important to be. 20 minutes later, Maya found herself in a car being driven across the tarmac to a small private terminal she hadn't even known existed. The whole thing felt surreal, like she'd slipped into an alternate reality where she was someone important instead of just Maya from the Bronx who worked at a community center, and always had to check her bank account before buying groceries. Jennifer had stayed with her, making small talk, probably to make sure Maya didn't bolt. "I know this is overwhelming," she said, as they approached a sleek white jet with the airline's logo on the tail. "When Robert first started doing these tests, I thought he was crazy. But I've seen the difference it makes. He's found 3 other employees this way, people who've gone on to create real changes in how we operate." "What happened to them?" Maya asked. "The people he tested before? One of them is now our head of accessibility services. She helped an elderly woman navigate TSA when she was confused about the rules. Another is training our gate agents on conflict de-escalation. He stopped a fight between 2 passengers and got both of them calmed down and on their flights. These are people who showed character when it mattered." The car stopped and Maya could see the jet up close now. It was smaller than commercial planes, but still intimidating in its luxury. A pilot in uniform stood at the base of the stairs leading up to the cabin. "Ms. Thompson," he greeted her with a professional smile. "I'm Captain Davis. We'll be flying you to Atlanta this evening. Flight time should be about 2 hours. We're ready whenever you are." Maya climbed the stairs on shaky legs, Jennifer following behind. The interior of the jet was like something from a magazine. Cream leather seats that looked more like armchairs, polished wood tables, soft lighting. There were only 8 seats in the entire plane, each with more legroom than she'd seen in her life. "There's food and drinks in the galley," Jennifer said, pointing toward the back. "The Wi-Fi password is on the card on your seat. And this," she handed Maya a small envelope, "is a direct phone number for Mr. Mitchell. He wanted you to have it in case you have questions about the job offer or need anything at all." Maya took the envelope, still feeling like she was watching all of this happen to someone else. "I hope your mother's surgery goes well," Jennifer said warmly, "and I hope we hear from you about the position. I meant what I said earlier. We need people like you." Then Jennifer was gone and Maya was alone in the jet except for the flight crew. She sank into one of the seats, which was somehow even more comfortable than it looked. Through the window, she could see the regular terminal in the distance, where thousands of people were crammed into economy seats, fighting for overhead bin space, paying $10 for a sandwich, and here she was, about to fly alone on a private jet because she'd helped an old man find his wallet. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. "Any luck with standby?" Maya took a photo of the jet's interior and sent it without comment. 3 dots appeared immediately, then, "What?" "Where are you?" Maya called her instead. "You're not going to believe what just happened." She told Lisa everything while the plane taxied to the runway. Her sister's reactions ranged from disbelief to anger at Robert's deception, to amazement at the job offer, to pure excitement about the jet. "So you're really flying private right now?" Lisa asked. "Like right now?" "The pilot just said we're cleared for takeoff," Maya confirmed, feeling the plane turn onto the runway. "This is insane. This whole thing is insane." "I know. Are you going to take the job?" Maya looked around the cabin, felt the plane accelerate down the runway, experienced the strange smooth lift of takeoff that was nothing like the rattling climb of a commercial flight. "I don't know, maybe. It doesn't feel real. The money's real. Did you see that salary? Maya, that's life-changing money." "I know, but..." Maya trailed off. Through the window, the ground fell away, the airport becoming small, the city spreading out below like a map. "It feels weird. Like I'm being rewarded for just being a decent person. That shouldn't be special enough to deserve all this. But it is special," Lisa said quietly. "You know how many people would have walked past that old man? Most people, that's how many. You stopped. That matters." After they hung up, Maya sat in silence, watching the ground disappear beneath clouds. The flight attendant, a friendly woman named Diane, brought her a bottle of water and asked if she wanted dinner. Maya realized she hadn't eaten since a rushed bagel that morning, but her stomach was too twisted with anxiety and adrenaline to want food. She pulled out the folder Robert had given her and read through the job description more carefully. Director of Customer Experience and Compassion Initiatives. It sounded important, maybe too important for someone like her. She'd barely finished college, had worked retail and service jobs her whole life before landing at the community center 3 years ago. But as she read about the responsibilities, developing empathy training programs, creating support systems for vulnerable passengers, establishing partnerships with advocacy groups, she felt something stir inside her. This was work that mattered. This was taking the kind of help she gave to individuals every day and scaling it up to help thousands of people. She thought about Mrs. Chen, one of the elderly women who came to the community center for the lunch program. She'd shared once how humiliating air travel had become for her after her stroke left her with a limp and slurred speech, how gate agents got impatient when she couldn't move fast enough, how other passengers stared or made rude comments. What if Maya could create training that helped staff see Mrs. Chen as a person, not an inconvenience? What if she could develop systems that made travel less terrifying for people with disabilities or cognitive issues or just the normal challenges of aging? The more she thought about it, the more the job felt less like a reward and more like an opportunity, a chance to take everything her mother had taught her about treating people with dignity and respect and build it into something bigger than herself. Her phone buzzed with an email notification. The subject line read, "Your mother's flight arrangements." Maya opened it to find a detailed plan from Patricia Chen. After her mother's surgery and recovery period, whenever the doctors cleared her to travel, the airline would provide medical transport back home. A nurse would accompany her on the flight. All costs covered. They'd even arranged for a car service to take her mother from the hospital to the airport and from the airport to her home. Maya felt tears slip down her cheeks again, but this time they weren't from frustration or despair. Someone was taking care of her family. Someone was making sure her mother wouldn't have to endure the stress and discomfort of commercial flying while recovering from major surgery. The relief was overwhelming. She composed a text to Robert's number. "Thank you for this. All of this. I'm still processing everything, but I want you to know how much it means." His response came quickly. "You earned it. Focus on your mother tonight. We can talk about everything else later. Safe travels." The flight passed quickly. Maya dozed a bit, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster of the day. When she woke, they were descending into Atlanta. The city lights spread out beneath them, beautiful and welcoming. Somewhere down there was her mother, hopefully sleeping peacefully, not knowing that Maya was about to walk into her hospital room hours earlier than expected. Captain Davis's voice came over the intercom. "Ms. Thompson will be landing in about 10 minutes. There's a car waiting to take you directly to the hospital." Of course there was. Maya almost laughed. In the span of a few hours, she'd gone from standing helplessly at a gate watching her flight leave to being chauffeured around on private jets with cars waiting for her. It was absurd. It was wonderful. It was terrifying. The landing was smooth, and within minutes they were taxiing to the private terminal. Maya gathered her bag, thanked the crew profusely, and descended the stairs into the warm Atlanta evening. True to Captain Davis's word, a black car waited nearby, the driver holding a sign with her name. "Ms. Thompson, I'm here to take you to Mercy General Hospital." The drive through Atlanta felt dreamlike. Maya watched the city pass by, still not quite believing any of this was real. She kept expecting to wake up in the airport chair where she'd been sitting, devastated about missing her flight. But this was real. The leather seats of the car were real. The folder with the job offer in her bag was real. And in about 15 minutes, she'd be walking into her mother's hospital room, able to keep her promise after all. The car pulled up to the hospital's main entrance. Maya thanked the driver and hurried inside, checking her phone for her mother's room number that Lisa had texted earlier. 4th floor, room 427. She found the elevators, pressed the button, bounced on her feet as she waited. The elevator dinged. She got in, pressed 4, watched the numbers climb. Her heart was pounding, but this time with anticipation instead of panic. The 4th floor was quiet, visiting hours nearly over. Maya walked down the corridor, checking room numbers. 421, 423, 425, and there, 427. The door was partially open, soft light spilling into the hallway. Maya pushed the door open gently. Her mother was in the bed, propped up slightly, looking small in the hospital gown. Lisa sat in a chair beside the bed, scrolling through her phone. Both of them looked up as Maya entered. "Maya?" Her mother's face transformed with shock and joy. "What? How did you? I thought your flight wasn't until tomorrow morning." Maya dropped her bag and rushed to the bed, wrapping her arms carefully around her mother. "Change of plans," she said, her voice muffled against her mother's shoulder. "I caught an earlier flight." Lisa stood up, giving Maya a knowing look over their mother's head. They'd have time later to talk about the full story. For now, this moment was enough. "I'm so glad you're here," her mother said, holding Maya tight. I was trying to be brave about you missing tonight, but I'm so glad you're here. I wouldn't miss this for anything, Maya said, and she meant it. Whatever else had happened today, however strange and unexpected, it had led her here to this moment, to keeping her promise to her mother. They spent the evening talking, the three of them, carefully avoiding the topic of tomorrow's surgery, focusing instead on family stories and gentle jokes. Maya's mother asked about Maya's flight, and Maya gave a vague answer about getting lucky with a cancellation. Around 10 p.m., a nurse came in and gently suggested that her mother needed rest before the morning. Lisa hugged them both and left to go back to her apartment. Maya asked if she could stay the night, and the nurse bent the rules, bringing in an extra blanket and dimming the lights. As her mother drifted off to sleep, Maya sat in the chair Lisa had vacated, watching the steady rise and fall of her mother's breathing. She thought about the entire impossible day, how it had started with panic and ended with peace, how helping one person had somehow created this chain of events that brought her exactly where she needed to be. She thought about the job offer sitting in her bag. Tomorrow, after the surgery, after she knew her mother was okay, she'd think about it seriously. But tonight, she was just grateful to be here. Maya woke up to the sound of nurses moving in the hallway and early morning light filtering through the hospital blinds. For a moment she forgot where she was, then it all came rushing back. The airport, Robert, the missed flight that turned into a private jet, and now her mother's surgery day. She sat up, her neck stiff from sleeping in the chair despite the extra pillow a kind night nurse had brought her around 2 a.m. Her mother was already awake, staring at the ceiling with that look people get when they're trying to appear calm but are actually terrified. "Morning, Mama," Maya said softly, moving to sit on the edge of the bed. "Morning, baby." Her mother's voice was steady, but her hand was cold when Maya took it. "Big day. You're going to be fine," Maya said with more confidence than she felt. "The doctors are great. Lisa said they have excellent success rates with this procedure." I know. Her mother squeezed Maya's hand. "I'm glad you're here. Having both my girls here, it makes it easier." Lisa arrived 20 minutes later with coffee and muffins from a cafe down the street, though none of them could really eat. They sat together making small talk about nothing important, avoiding the weight of what was coming. At 7:30, the surgical team came in. The surgeon, Dr. Patel, was a woman in her 50s with a calm, confident manner that immediately put them at ease. She explained the procedure again, answered their questions, and assured them that she'd done this surgery hundreds of times. "We'll take good care of her," Dr. Patel promised. "There's a waiting room on the second floor. Someone will come update you every hour during the surgery. It should take about 4 to 5 hours total." The orderlies came to transfer her mother to the surgical prep area. This was it, the moment Maya had been desperate not to miss. "I love you, Mama," Maya said, kissing her mother's forehead. "I love you too, sweetheart. Both of you." Her mother's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You girls are my everything. We'll be right here when you wake up," Lisa added, her voice cracking. Then they were wheeling her away, and Maya and Lisa stood in the hallway, watching until the elevator doors closed. The silence that followed felt heavy. "Come on," Lisa said, linking her arm through Maya's. "Let's go camp out in that waiting room." The waiting room was already filling up with other families, all wearing the same expression of anxious hope. Maya and Lisa found seats in a corner, and that's when Lisa turned to her with raised eyebrows. "Okay, now you can tell me the whole story. And I mean the whole story. How did you end up on a private jet?" Maya told her everything, speaking quietly so the other families wouldn't overhear. Lisa's expressions ranged from disbelief to anger to amazement, sometimes all three at once. "So this old man was actually a billionaire testing people?" Lisa said, "and that's insane. That's like something from a movie." "I know. And he offered you how much money?" Maya pulled out the folder and showed her. Lisa's eyes went wide. Maya, this is... You have to take this job. I don't know if I'm qualified." "Stop it." Lisa's voice was firm. "You're the most qualified person for this job. Do you know how many times I've watched you help people? At the center, on the street, everywhere we go. You see people, Maya. Really see them. That's not something you can learn from a business degree." They sat in silence for a moment, then Lisa asked, "Are you scared? About the job?"